I'm Lisa McCall, physical therapist. I am what's called the Posture Princess on Instagram, and I am a lover of movement. I'm kind of a nerd, movement nerd, major movement nerd. So today, my nerdy thing is we're going to stretch our hamstrings. Now, let's talk about hamstring stretching. Why? What is it in this situation? And why in the first place? Did you ever wonder why we have tight hamstrings? I think we just think we have tight hamstrings and that's normal. It's not. We don't use them. You get tight, whatever's not being used. So we don't use them well. Of course we use them. They help us walk across the room. But here's my story. Your hamstrings are innervated, by your sciatic nerve. And you've heard people say, well, I have sciatica. It's a very popular phrase, very well-known phrase. I have sciatica. Well, maybe, just maybe, the low part of your back where it comes from, L5, S1, 2, 3, L5 is your lowest lumbar vertebra and then your sacrum, so L5, S1. But that area, maybe that area needs to be stabilized, and then your hamstrings need to be activated in a lengthened position so that both the innervation area and the hamstring itself get what they're designed to get. And they get to be treated normal and they act normal. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you one thing. When you drop your tailbone, you shorten your hamstrings. You are putting your thigh bones down a little forward, which will cause the hamstring to activate in a different way. It also causes your low back lumbar spine that has a natural functional arch, structural arch, very small arch, but a very, very important one. If it is not in place, then it's kind of like a bad signal to your body. It's like your house not having the right foundation. You know, a little bit off of that foundation, get a little cracks here, little problems. You don't know why. All these things connect, and they do. So that's enough of the anatomical situation, except for one more thing. Oftentimes, when we stretch something, I don't think people really understand what I mean by stretching. Stretching to me is you are elongating contractile tissue. Contractile tissue is muscle. And if I am bending over and I feel a hamstring stretch, I am contracting that hamstring. I am working that hamstring in a lengthened position. Okay? Now, the best way to use your hamstrings is the way they are designed to be used on your body. Meaning, we all need to start with a foundation. Now, if I want to, let's say, be a high kicker, I want to kick really high, and I can feel it back here in my hamstring. That is not the most foundational, most functional movement. I have to build up to that. I have to have a stable spine, and I have to make sure my pelvis and my spine are in position to get my leg to go up. And when I go up, my hamstring will either elongate and stretch or be already elongated, and I will kick. But that is not a foundational movement. What I show you here are very powerful movements that you have in your life right now. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stretch our hamstrings and learn how to feel better back there and stronger back there in the back and the hamstring by just moving well, by having the skill of bending well. Now, we bend to sit, and we bend to pick up stuff, and we bend for lots of reasons. But in my world, I like to show you how to bend to sit, then I want to show you how to bend to pick up something. And then you can always go, I'm not really in the mood to pick up something, but I'll practice my bending while sitting, or vice versa. So you have to practice this. Yes, it has to become a part of your life. So what I really would like for you to do right now, before I jump over there, is to participate with me. All you gotta do is either have a chair or a spot like that, put a pillow in it or two pillows, and just make it high enough so that when you end up sitting down, your knees will be a little lower than your hips. So you may have to get a couple of pillows. I don't know about your chair situation. And then if you don't want to do that, you can do the second part where I'm going to pick things up off the ground. Yes, I am. So here we go. But class participation is encouraged. All right, so here we go. I'm going to stand in front. I've done this a few times on videos. Never hurts to do it again. I'm going to stand at the corner of this so that it's a better viewpoint for you. I'm pulling my shirt up a little so you have a little viewpoint of my spine. So here's what's going on. I have muscles on both sides of my spine that are developed. I do not live with my vertebra sticking out, and I do not live in a position where my tailbone is down and my hips are forward, which causes my shoulders to be forward. I do not live in this position. That makes my leg bones forward, and that really is complicating the back of the body. So I put my fingers along my spine, and I rest my hands on my back. So I want to find a little indention. And if I can't get an indention, I relax my belly even more and I stick my butt out a little. And if you already have an indention, then don't need to stick your butt out more. Now, I'm going to put my feet comfortable width apart. I turn my upper thighs out with my feet planted like I'm on a horse. And I stick my butt as high in the air as I can. And then what do you feel? Most people feel the backs of their legs stretching. Hamstrings, some people feel it in the glutes. And I keep my butt up there for a few seconds. And I just go, wow. Yeah, I got my butt in the air. My back is straight. The weight's mostly in my heels. That's really good. Then I go and sit on the front of my crotch. And that is my hamstring stretch. Now, another way in which I am not stretching my hamstrings, but I am not causing them to become tighter, which is sort of really cool, is by sitting like this. Because if I don't sit like this and I slump sit and I cross my legs sit and my pelvis is under, a lot of my muscles are going to adapt to a shortened position, and it won't be advantageous to me if I want to walk around comfortable. Okay? So this silly thing called life movements, I call life movements, are so powerful, so important. Why do I have to go to a gym or to a yoga class or to a Pilates class or to a personal trainer to do something that my body is already knows how to do, and I can become empowered by doing this, so that when I do go to some class I want to go to, I'm already ahead of the game. I don't have back pain, I don't have leg pain, I don't have these problems. I can go do stuff because my foundation is real strong. Okay, that's sitting. I can get up the same way. I like to put my hands on my back. I like the feedback that my hands give me of knowing my back is straight, my belly is relaxed, and this causes a natural stretch in my shoulders. I am not forcing my elbows back. I am just letting my chest feel an openness, and it's usually a stretch for most people. And then I bend forward just like I did, and I take my butt up and I pause. Well, you don't have to pause, but I think it's a really good idea. And I feel my hamstring stretching, or you will, and if you don't, stick your butt higher. And then you come up. And so what happens is, not only are you stretching your hamstrings, you're relearning how to bend. And bending is a very foundational, fundamental, powerful movement for the human body. Well, let me show you. I have right here a few things that you could bend down and need to get in your life. Let's see, I have a dog bowl. I could put my hand on my back, bend over, pick up this bowl, and go fill it up with water. Let's say you go, I can't bend that far. I lose my groove. What are you talking about, lady? It's not working for me. That's fine. You put more space between your feet, and then you put your hands on your back, you bend your knees maybe a little more, and then you bend and you get a little lower. Now, let me show you what you're not going to do. I mean, it's just an easy thing to fall into. You go, okay, I got my feet apart. I got my thighs open. I've been over. I'm just going to squat. Not the same thing. It's not a bad thing. But if you learn this motion, your back gets strengthened. Your hips get lubricated, you could say, because that is a great movement for the hips. Your hamstrings get stronger, and you become more centered in your body. And you may think, well, I don't care. Well, you do care. You do care if you're worried about falling. You do care if you don't like the way you play pickleball. You do care in other ways, because the more centered you are in your body, more relaxed you are, more upright you are, more attractive you are. It just touches every piece of your life. It's just that nobody told you that centering your spine, centering your body, is a very, very key component to a healthy structure and function. I call it structure and function. Healthy body, healthy joints, physical therapy world. Okay, I got off on that. So I went over and I picked that up. Now I could move it. Looky there. Now we have laundry. I could go over. I could sort my laundry. I could sort my towels. I could sort my blankets. I can come back up. I can show you this. I can come over, get the dog toys. Now, let's say you get going and you go, I don't want to put my hands on my back every time I do this. I've learned that this is challenging for people to slow down. No problem. Here's what I tell people to do. I've learned this over the years. If your dominant hand is left, which mine is, then I'm going to put my dominant hand on my back. Now this time I'm just letting my palm be up. I'm just feeling my back, making sure it doesn't feel round. Oh yeah, that's round, that's straight. I'm not getting detailed. And I put my non-dominant hand as the one that's picking up stuff. Maybe I'm gonna, put stuff in here, okay? Now, the reason I've learned that is because people tend to reach with their dominant arm, and they tend to bend over and twist. And I've seen people, clients of mine, their back go out because they constantly bent in a flex. They did this. They flexed from their waist and they twisted. Kind of a common back twinge, whatever thing, back problem. Flexion, twisting. They flex at the waist, they twist. It's just a common habit they have of doing their body that way instead of bending at the hip and keeping the spine stable. So I just said, well, put your dominant arm on your back, reach down and get your with non-dominant. We have a less of a tendency to twist. It's just not, it's not twisty. You aren't used to twisting. It's kind of like just tricking the old neurosystem. So you can do this. Now, let me tell you how I learned this. I really gave it a lot of attention. And when I gave it a lot of attention, it came to me quicker. If you don't give it a lot of attention, it takes a lot longer. So at the time I started doing this, I had 2 Labrador retrievers. Labrador retrievers, both of them loved to retrieve. So in my backyard, I was like 32 or something, I had one of those Frisbee things. And so I would put one hand on my back, and I'd bend over and get the Frisbee, and I'd throw it. They bring it back. I bend over and get the Frisbee, and I'd throw it. And I don't know how many millions of times I did that. There were other things I did, but that was like the one really consistent thing I did. And there you go. I actually even went to a golf, what do you call those places where you practice?
Driving range.
Driving range. I was not into golf. I literally wanted to bend over and take the ball out of the basket and put it on the tee and hit the ball. I didn't even care about hitting it that much. Even though there's a whole science to hitting a golf ball, I was not good at it. I'm not trying to go there. I'm just trying to tell you that that's how obsessed I was with this. But I like to learn things. I like to learn them condensed. I'd rather practice a lot, and then after a week or 4 days, I feel like I can really feel it. I like that instead of doing it once every day, and then 6 months later, I'm like, well, maybe. That's just not my style. It doesn't matter what you want to do. really seriously. You do what works best for you. And that's just how I did it. So that is how to stretch your hamstrings and strengthen your hamstrings and become more centered and get something functionally, practically done at the same time. Now we can do questions.
Bill in Bakersfield. I have no idea what innervated is.
Oh, that means the nerve that makes the muscle fire. So the sciatic nerve makes your hamstring work. If it's not innervated, that is just a piece of meat lying on your leg that doesn't work. Muscles are connected to the bone, and the nerves that come out innervate, nerve innervation, into the muscles and make the muscles work. So the sciatic nerve is the one that works the hamstring muscles. And many people have sciatica, which means pain down the leg from the sciatic nerve. And you can get rid of it a lot of times by just doing what I showed you the first 15 minutes.
Donnie in Des Plaines, Illinois asks, what do hamstrings do?
They cause your knee to bend. Okay, hamstrings do this. They do this and this. They bend the knee and extend the leg. That's their job.
Izzy in Boise says, since the hamstrings are in the leg, why is bending your back important?
We keep the back straight. We're bending the hips at the hips. Am I misunderstanding? You know, you're understanding this better than I do.
I think what she's asking is, since the muscle's in the leg, what connection does the hip or the back have?
It crosses the hip joint, and it makes the hip extend, and it bends the knee. So when it gets shortened, let's play like my hamstrings are really short and tight. Short is tight. You know, with me? Okay, shorten, tighten. That means that would be happening. So we're doing the absolute opposite. We're asking the hamstring to lengthen, and that is helping my whole back and butt work better. See, we have a tendency to try to figure something out by thinking it. You need to go do it. And you don't even need to know what it's innervated by. You don't even need to know. All you need to know is you feel better when you pick up the dog bowl than you did before. I explain things because everyone is a thinker more than a feeler that I meet in general. You know what I mean. So what I want to do is I want you to become a feeler more than a thinker when it comes to the body. I'm trying to get you to feel. Put your hands on your back, you bend over, hopefully you'll be doing this, and you'll feel something here stretching or pulling. And as more you do it, the less you feel and the stronger you feel.
Courtney in San Jose asks, it's so much more comfortable for me to cross my legs like women do instead of like men do. Why is it bad for your hamstrings? It's
bad for like more than that. It's your pelvis and all sorts of things. Because what you're doing is you are going into a habitual pattern of movement that has to do more with a sedentary lifestyle than an active lifestyle. So we all tend to lean into comfort, right? Couches are soft. Things feel better. People put a whole lot under their shoes. Soft, soft, soft. Back in, let's just say 100 years ago, you would not be having the kind of sofas and chairs. People sat upright more. They didn't cross their legs. They were out milking a cow. They moved their dress. They had on bloomers. They're milking their cow. They're moving the hay. And that posture was the posture they knew and used because that was their life posture. Your life posture is more about not moving, crossing your leg, slumping over, making sure you feel better by just not moving. And even if you move, if you're used to sitting like this for years, your body's going to say that's normal. So, you've got to give it a try. You've got to, I am not the lady who says, oh, well, that's comfortable, then do it. I'm the person who says, this comfortable thing may be causing you a lot of problems. And by simply choosing to sit a little different and bend a little different, you can find out that you're a lot stronger. I work at a senior center, and they have really, these are all people in their 80s, okay? 80s, 90s. And I see the results of their posture, of their life posture. They tell me what they did. The women will agree, if I keep crossing my legs like that, I fall. It ultimately shows up later, maybe in life, but I've seen girls that cross their legs a lot, and they end up running more like this, which isn't good. Hard on the knees. You may not run. See, these things aren't going to pop up and be a problem unless they're a problem. And sometimes it can get so far out, meaning you get a problem, a knee problem, you blow your knee out, and no one is tracing it back to what I'm tracing it back to. I'm not saying what they're doing to rehab you isn't good, but what I'm saying is the story you're telling yourself of why you blew your knee out is not including the way you're living. How can we ignore the 24/7 and then go, well, my daughter was a volleyball player. She jumped in the air and blew her knees out. Okay, why? Why? We need to look at how she sits and stands and walks. We need to look and see if she's on her phone 90% of the time, and if what posture she's in when she's on that phone. You know, these things matter. This is how we are just like whistling through life. So it's not going to be as comfortable at first to change that. So kind of switch it in and out. Maybe, switch it in and out. Look at some of my other videos. Maybe just practice this a whole lot. And then maybe you don't want to cross your legs as much. Cross like a man. Is this going to be comfortable? Might at first. But you know what my new motto is? Well, I actually heard this from someone else, so it's not mine. Learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think there's good to that. You're not going to be uncomfortable forever like that. It's going to feel comfortable after a while because then the hip relaxes and the back is stronger, and that's why we exercise. We feel better when we exercise. We exercise is because the body is designed to move, and then people feel better. There you go. It's just moving the body. I'm just a foundation lady. I want to get you down and back to where this all starts and possibly change that. So you never have to have that problem again, ever.
Mike in Flagstaff says, well, what about those foam rollers and massage sticks?
Okay.
Is that, what do they call it, manual manipulation?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm kind of having fun with it when I use it as a marketing tool with you. I'm playing. Here's the deal. I have found for me and for others that I have treated over 30 years with this stuff. Now, 25, 28 years with this work. That no matter what you add, like the foam roller, a massage therapist, a PT, a chiropractor, a DO, whoever you choose to help you, they only help you more. They complement each other. If you do these movements and then you do the foam roller, fantastic. Maybe you don't need the foam roller as much. They complement each other. There is not an either or. I use different modalities less than I used to because I don't need them, but I was never ever anti-pro. Don't do a chiropractor. Don't do this. I've never been that. I've always been, let's find what works best for my body, what works best for yours, and bring the two together. Okay? So it was more of a joking, funning, like, look, you can do this yourself kind of marketing tool, I guess.
Let's see here. This is from Bill in Seattle. I just tried bending like you said.
Yay!
And my knees don't have great range of motion. I think that impacts my hamstring tightness. What do I do?
Same thing. Just keep doing it. That's true. What you said is true. Wouldn't you say, John? John, you have limited knee. He has limited range of motion in his knees. He's had 2 knee replacements. But the more he bends like that, his knees feel better. Yes, your hamstring is crossing the knee joint, so you should feel like possibly it's back there. So what do? You just keep doing it. Be kind, take your time. Maybe if you want to, you stay there for a moment, you come back up, you later on, you do it again. You just work with it. You're undoing tension. And I'm not a believer in pushing and doing it really hard. I'd rather you do small amounts over and over and over again, because you're so much less likely to get injured if you're doing something not perfect. Because your body will go, oh, I don't like that. And then, it goes away in a day. But you really, if you do this, and let's say you did it 15 times in a day, the worst case scenario is you're going to be sore. And that's not a bad thing. Your hamstrings may be sore. But you want to keep just mindfully doing that movement. Come back to it. Come back to it. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And let it start to become like a tennis serve or a sinking a basketball. You refine it. You refine it. You're refining. I'm refining by bending well. I'm refining that movement like I would be refining a serve or a pickleball hit. I'm just gaining the skill of this very powerful, basic foundation movement.
Charlie in Page says, what should I do when I pick up a golf ball out of the cup?
I know, everyone always asks me that. What you could do, because people don't like to bend without one leg up, I don't care. My thing is, what if you notice that you always put one leg up, maybe you put always your right. Well, what if you changed it, put an arch in your back, see if you could do it the other way, and make sure that you're not rounding your back. Let's say this is the golf ball. No, here's the ball. Okay, it's a little big, but anyway. Okay, so maybe you always go like this, okay? And instead you're going to, if you don't care, you could just do both legs on the ground, but maybe that's embarrassing to you. So you change legs, and maybe you just make sure you feel a stretch in your hamstring. And keep one foot on the ground or pick it up, I don't care. Just so you know that when you do it, you're getting a stretch in the back of your leg. Play with it. Play with it. Play with it. Just keep the back straight. Keep the arch. Feel free to bend the knee more. Knee bends a little because you're like, I can't keep my back straight. Well, bend your knee a little more so that you can have the freedom and that restriction.
Yolanda in Tucson says, can I strengthen and lengthen my hamstrings at the same time?
You are. If you do that, you are. Strengthen and lengthen. It's called the eccentric contraction.
Terry in Mesa, last question. I know you don't know how I walk, but is there a certain way that helps improve my hamstring tightness?
Bending. Then your hamstring works better. If you bend well, you're going to walk better. Because if the hamstring...
No, I think that she means, is there a certain way I should walk that helps the hamstring tightness?
That's a lot more complicated. I show on one of my videos how to push. And you go back to one of those, it's a push walk. Very good question. I did a whole video on that. Pushing to walk, go look up one of my walking videos. I got a bunch of them. A little more complicated, but like if you had a grocery cart, you're pushing the grocery cart, that helps you use your hamstring better. Where'd everybody go? Are you there? Okay. So that's one way. But if you bend a lot, that will help improve your walk. So we can go different ways. We can either improve our walk by pushing a grocery cart, or improve our walk, our hamstrings, by bending better. They work with each other. That's the cool thing. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you feel better. Please email me if you like and just say, I don't get it, or why don't you talk about this, or whatever. Go to McCallmethod.com. And here you can like, you can share, you can, what else?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. See you next week.